Hi, Tim Sales here. In this video, I'm talking about what prevents somebody from joining a network marketing company. And one of the primary ones is they are afraid to fail. All right, afraid to fail. And it's not just the person is afraid to fail. They've got another one. And that is that they're afraid of another or others seeing them fail. So there's three scenarios going on here with this particular thought process in a prospect, all right? And you need to be aware of it, and I'm going to walk you through a couple of things. So I promise you I failed my way to success. It's the only way I succeeded. I did not just make it, okay? I failed my way to success. If you're afraid to fail, you'll likely not start. You won't produce when you do start. You'll likely quit when you think you're close to failing or at the first failure. All right. And that might be when you're like trying to call a customer or prospect or something like that, right? The correct mindset that I've found that you have to have is when I fail, I learn. And then that way, what I'm saying to myself with that mindset is that, oh, I most absolutely will fail. Not all the time, though. And each time that I do, I'll learn from it. And that we call an after-action report, which is after a win or a lose, write it up. What did we do well? What do we need to work on? That's it. Okay? If you do that, then you are going to become a winner eventually, no matter what. Okay? So, you see this goofy kid? Well, this is me a lot of years ago. And you don't think I was afraid to go and knock on people's door and ask them if I could mow their yard? Oh my gosh, I was so afraid. But I was afraid of something worse. And that is that all the kids laughed at me at school because of my tennis shoes. All right, I had like cheap Kmart tennis shoes and I was laughed at. And the only way that I could get it would be to go and earn money on my own. And so I had to knock on doors. You know how scared I was? All right. I like knock on a door and it take me forever. You know, I'm like looking at the steps and up there is where the door is. And I'm like, got to walk up the stairs and I'm, dogs barking and all kinds of stuff. And I want to run and I knock on the door and nobody answers, So I go to the next one, I go to the next one, I go to the next one. Nobody there. And then some guy happens to be there. He's in a duplex. I knock on the door. He comes to the door and he looks at me and I say, you wouldn't want me to mow your yard, would I? Would you? And he like looks back in the house. He was watching TV. And then he looks back and he goes, you know what? You need to perfect your sales pitch. And he said, you ought to say something a little bit more like, would you like to keep mowing, or would you like to keep on watching TV and let me mow your yard? And he goes, if you said something like that, then it would be more interesting. And I go, would you? He goes, yeah. And so he sold himself, right? And see, and there's your power of one. If you can get one customer, you can get 1 million. All right. And that is the mindset that you've got to have. And so I did that and I ended up knocking on about 300 doors and I got 30 customers that I was able to service over the years. And they bought my tennis shoes. They bought my Levi Strauss jeans. They bought my belt buckle that I wanted. They bought my Letterman jacket, all of those things. Okay. And so, yes, I was afraid, but you step out anyway. To experience a yes, you must be willing to experience a no. That's going to be a theme I'm going to walk through here. And I really, really want you to have it, okay? Because I want you to succeed as I have. And you just got to remember that to experience a yes. In other words, you can't experience a yes if you're unwilling to experience a no. All right? So you got to be willing to experience both of them. Do you think I wasn't afraid? All right? So this guy right here, so he's a squid. That's what they call us in the Navy, right? And I would see these kinds of guys working on the sides of ships, and they were real cool. They wear Ray-Ban sunglasses, short pants, had a knife on their calf, strapped to their calf. I thought they were the coolest people I'd ever seen in my life. I wanted to be one. But they were way outside my altitude, right? Like they're way up in the stratosphere for me. And I want to be one of those, but I don't know how to be one of those. I don't think I can be one of those, but I want to be one of those. You know what I'm saying? All right. To experience being elite, you must be willing to experience being cut. Okay? I got about, 600 no's every time I submitted a request sheet to be accepted into this group, to even try out for this group. Okay? And so you got to be willing to be cut if you want to be elite. All right? Be cut from the team, not accepted, whatever it is. Do you think I wasn't afraid jumping out of the back of that helicopter or the back of that airplane into water? By the way, you can see the fins. Do you think I wasn't afraid to be on the ocean floor where that hose right there is my air? I mean, if the compressor goes out, guess what? I'm sitting down in a 200-pound rig. I'm not getting out of that rig. You can't take that helmet off. Okay. And so you gotta experience it. How about defusing the bombs? All right. You don't think I was afraid? You don't think I was afraid? We're dragging a bomb in the Gulf. You don't think I'm afraid for my buddy? All right. So when you know true brotherhood in the military, it's when you're willing to give up your life with honor so that that man lives and can carry on his future. All right. And I know he thinks the same about me. Right? You can't have that. And that is to experience the thrill of victory. You must be willing to experience the agony of defeat. All right. And so was I afraid? Yeah. Every time I jumped into the water, every time I go out on a mission with my buddies, all right. So of course, all right. And this was the biggest fear. You think I wasn't afraid when I had the most abrupt, rude, unthought out conversation on a driveway with this girl? It was, for me, having the last name of Sales, and that is my real last name. I didn't change it. I sure flubbed that one up, okay? Because she made me nervous. She was my true dream, all right? And so here she is. Cowboy boots is a big deal for me. And so that's where we got married. And then we had 2 children together. All right. To experience love, you must be willing to experience a broken heart. Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of risk. It's scary. It's like how many girlfriends and then once you do get married, what is it? 60-40? 60% get a divorce, 40% stay together or something like that. Right? And so that's a huge risk. You've got to be able to experience both a broken heart and love in order to have true love. It's the only way it happens. All right. I just copied this off my stock trading. So while I'm writing this stuff, I have stock trading in the background. And this right here are my closed positions. Okay. And no, those are my open positions. These are the closed positions. And so this is year to date. I lost $19,000. $19,900, right? I lost $12,000, $2,000, $1,000, $703, right? But I won $1,900, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $51,000. You see? And then over here, and that's 9% in a quarter, right? So in a month, or 3 months. And this here, because this is year to date. And this one here, I'm up 190,000, and these are the open positions. All right? To experience a gain, you must be willing to experience a loss. You know how few people are willing to lose 20 grand? That's the whole thing. But it's not just, oh, well, I lost all my money. No. You got to do the after action report every single time you have a loss or a win and say, what did I do right? And then you will eventually get more rights than wrongs. Then here's the way that I see all that I just described. So if you can't relate to any of those that I just showed you, surely you can think about the one with the love, right? But I want you to picture this is that let's say that a person is unwilling to experience success or failure. Okay, so they're obsessed with only experiencing success, okay? That's what they have to, right? They can't experience failure. Well, that person can't have success. Okay? If you're willing to experience success or failure, you can have both. All right? So let's just picture that this right here is the person who has this willingness to have success or failure, both, right? Then that person is going to have expanding like space, like size, dimension. But if that person has a failure that they can't quite get rid of, then they're going to shrink a little bit. And so they're going to have they're unwilling to experience much success or failure. And so they shrink. And then they shrink some more. And then they shrink and they shrink and they shrink. In other words, that person who is so afraid of having a failure, so afraid of getting hurt, so afraid of getting a no, so afraid of having his heart broke, so afraid of everything. That person is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking because they're not willing to experience life. And so that's the person who has no other option than to sit there with a remote control and be just the effect of TV. Okay? And what's his problems? Battery's dead in the remote. You know what I mean? So if you know where all your buttons are in the dark on that remote, you got problems, right? You get out there and be willing to experience defeat, failure, losses, all right? Because that's the only way. And I gave you the greatest gift you could have gotten with this thing called the pipeline. Because in here is the steps, okay? So just like in the military, when you're skydiving or you're going to defuse a bomb or whatever, they give you an SOP. The men who came before us wrote up how you even confront that bomb, how you even confront diving, how you jump out of an airplane. They've already kind of drilled that in and created a standard operating procedure. And the same is here. This is all there is to getting any customer, any congregation in a church, any spouse that you want, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. This is how you get votes if you're in the political world. Whatever it is, you got to always generate a lead, contact, set an appointment, do a presentation, follow up, get the customer, serve them, make money. That's the game. Okay? Same way with recruiting for reps or employees. You got to do the same thing. All right? It's always the thing. So, fear those who never give up. All right? Really and truly, that's what you want to be. Fearful. All right? In other words, others being fearful because you never, ever give up. And I'm not talking about just don't quit. Okay? So, in network marketing, I see a lot of people on the stage and they'll be up there and they'll say, the secret is just don't quit. Just don't quit. And I've always, every single time, I'm like, bad advice. Because just staying on auto delivery or just showing up to the meetings is not enough. You got to do the pipeline. You got to be like, okay, so let's stay at a football stadium. You got the people who are watching, in other words, in the stands. And then you've got the people who are on the bleachers or on the benches. And then you've got the people on the playing field. And those are the people who are like at the line of scrimmage and they're always hitting and playing the game. That's where you want to always be. And the way you're always there is putting leads across pipeline and doing after action reports, basically writing up what worked, what didn't. And then you can't fail. All right. And then you will be the one that fear those who never give up. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you like that I do these videos, give me a thumbs up. Also, you might comment down below. I'd love to see your comment on this one. And also, if you haven't subscribed, you might think about doing so. And speaking of after action drills, my videographer just told me that my collar was messed up.